Carrie, I just got a message from Whitney Owen today. Charlie Wilson has died. By suicide. He poisoned himself.
What? But why? He seemed so healthy the last time we saw him.
Yes, but Charlie took the death of his daughter Janet very hard. You know she died by the same Asian flu that caused the pandemic that killed millions of others a few years ago. The same virus that could have killed James, had we not intervened via time travel to give the vaccine for the flu to his younger self in 2025.
Yes, I know. Are you thinking we should have saved Janet instead?
We had no way of knowing Charlie's depression would one day cause his death. He kept it well hidden from everyone except Whitney.
Right, plus we did another temporal intervention to save the lives of Michael Jefferson and Charles McKenzie. It seems no matter how hard we try, we can't save everyone. Loved ones still die too soon. Including Charlie Wilson himself. I remember what my mother Jessica told me after my own suicide attempt when you and I were 14.
Carrie, Lucy and I love you so much that we would die to save you. Your life is more precious than all the gold in Fort Knox a million times over. It is your connection to me, Lucy, Debbie, and others that makes you special. That makes you loved. That makes your life have meaning. Throwing it away doesn't just end your own pain, it actually spreads that pain to all the ones that know and love you. I just didn't see it that way. Can you forgive me? Carrie, there's nothing to forgive. You are a survivor, and that is something to be proud of.
So now Charlie has inflicted pain on his own wife, making her a widow after they had already lost their daughter. How could he be so cruel to her?
No more cruel than you were to your mothers and to me when you attempted suicide, Carrie. You had a mental breakdown at that time and then recovered from it after you were saved. We just have to move on and do what we can to comfort Whitney now. And,
Debbie, it is a notification from my cell phone. Let me check it.
It is actually a message from Tara Sims, who is married to Jonathan Sims, Carrie's uncle.
Carrie, I am profoundly saddened to inform you that your uncle Jonathan died this morning in a hospital after a long struggle with cancer. He was surrounded by family. I will send you an invitation to his funeral when I have made the arrangements.
Oh, shit. Now that is two loved ones we have lost in one day. So what if their funerals are on the same day too?
You can go to Boston to attend your uncle's funeral, and I will go to Texas to attend that of Charlie Wilson, of course.
So that's the situation, Tara. As much as I want Debbie and I to attend Uncle Jonathan's funeral together, we can't. I will have to come alone.
I understand. I can offer you a spare bedroom in the house I shared with Jonathan. The one originally bought and owned by your grandparents. I actually miss your grandmother Kelly even now. And now I will miss Jonathan even more.
I know. But as Debbie herself once told me, the circle of life turns and we can't stop it, we can only slow it down to some extent to help us live longer. But at least even after we are gone, our children, grandchildren, and others will still remember us with love.
That's true. Treasure the memories, that's all we need to do. Richard, the attack of the Chinese on Mars colony has made my daughters express a desire to return to Earth, where they feel safer. And your report that Mars cannot be terraformed has caused people on Earth to lose all interest in coming to Mars as colonists. So what is the point of us staying here?
Good question. If it was just for myself, I'd be willing to stay here for many more years, but now I agree that this colony is not as useful as we hoped. So let us return to the USS Sandy and go back to Earth. Of course, I will be sad to see you all go, but I understand we have limited opportunities here. We will return our daughters to Earth, and after that we will launch again and go to the Alpha Centauri system. As you know, that is the nearest star system to our own, and they hope to find a habitable planet around one of its 3 stars, and back at their house on Mars.
So where are we going to put the 3 girls? Richard and I may drop Sandy Maria off at Washington, D.C. to live with her grandmothers Debbie and Carrie at the White House. And what about your twins? They are used to being with their cousin, so we can ask for them to also stay with Debbie and Carrie. But we could also return all three of them to the Smith-Wilson mansion to live with my father James and mother Penny. Hey, has anyone asked us kids what we want? Why can't we go with you adults to Alpha Centauri? You need to attend a school. There is a school here on Mars, but there is none at Alpha Centauri. And even on Mars, there are no other children for you three to hang out with. I am almost 14 now. Do I really need to attend school, even if the twins do because they're younger?
Your mother and I benefited from attending high schools and learning how to interact with other kids our age. You don't want to be surrounded only by us adults all the time, right? That would be boring.
So I have decided to resign as the chief of staff here and run for governor of Kentucky. The current governor has become quite unpopular, and so I think I have a good chance to defeat him.
Is that why you told me you did not want to become vice president? Because you were already thinking ahead to the next election in Kentucky?
Yes. My mind was made up now. So this is goodbye.
Good luck. If you want me to come to your state to support your campaign, let me know.
Madam President, here is the bill passed by Congress to allow the federal government to take over all hospitals and all health insurance companies. It was a tough fight, but we finally did it.
What the hell are all these other features on the bill? Banning abortions in hospitals. Requiring that only certified U.S. citizens be allowed treatment at such hospitals. Really?
Those were what some of the Republicans demanded be added if they were to support passing the bill.
I hate having to compromise with those jerks, but so be it. At least I will be keeping my most important campaign promise.
Debbie therefore signs the bill and it becomes law. Soon afterwards, the details of the new law are revealed to the public. And so in social media.
This is outrageous. Debbie Smith said she was pro-choice, but now she has signed a bill that, among other things, bans abortions in government-run hospitals and only allows U.S. citizens to be treated at such hospitals. She has sold us out.
Wow. Some people just can never be satisfied. The General Assembly of the United Nations is having a serious discussion about the option of reforming the UN into an actual world government.
Those aliens killed over 200 million of my people. If they could do that to China, they could be a threat to any other nation. They have a huge advantage over us in having a government uniting all Sabari. We of Earth should have the same.
I agree with my Chinese colleague. If we someday have to go to war with aliens, we need one leadership to be equal with our enemies.
You talking about wanting us to be equal with aliens is ironic given your past history of trying to conquer others. Many nations, including mine, have done horrible acts to other peoples in the past. What's important is that we move forward so we are not repeating those wrongful acts.
And listening to the discussions are Ambassador Fredrin of the Sabari and Ambassador Daniel Watson of the United States.
Why are some of those people accusing us Sabari of genocide?
Well, the fact is that you killed more humans in the recent war than were ever killed in any previous war. And most of the victims were civilians.
No one would have died at all if China had not attempted to steal Mars colony from the Americans. So the punishment was justified. That's not just my government's position, but my own personal belief. You cannot afford to be soft when dealing with treacherous enemies. That's how you lose in the long run.
How do you like my new look, Father? I gave myself a makeover because I'm not just a little girl anymore.
You look great. I do have a question, though. When we left from Mars, you left your dog Pewdie behind with your grandfather's. Do you want Pewdie back?
No. As you know, I gave Pewdie to Grandfather Michael to comfort him after he lost his own dog. I never said I wanted her back.
That was very kind of you. Maybe we can give you another dog later. For now, we must go board the USS Sandy and return to Earth.
Madam President, why have you not made a State of the Union address yet? That is required by the U.S. Constitution, so what's the problem?
I will make the address when I am ready, Senator. You just worry about representing your state and voting for legislation and budgets.
Why are they making such a big deal out of a speech you have not made yet?
Well, they are correct. The Constitution does in fact require the President to give information to Congress about the issues of the day, but beyond that, no details of what's required are given, so I will do as I please. Greetings, I am Debbie Smith, President of the United States, and this is my State of the Union Address for 2079. Last year, I ran for president on the critical issue of putting all hospitals and all forms of healthcare insurance under the management and ownership of the federal government. And this year I succeeded in getting legislation passed that got what I wanted. But now we Americans, and the rest of the world, are facing an economic crisis resulting from the recent war with China, which disrupted trade around the world. And while I am indeed grateful for the intervention of the Sabari in bringing the war to a swift end, I am also shocked at the massive loss of life. Specifically, the Chinese casualties have been officially tallied at 236 million dead. Prior to this, the most devastating war in world history was World War II, in which only 70 million people died in 6 years. Now we have lost over 3 times that many in just 1 week. This shows how powerful and ruthless the Sabari are in waging war. We should expect to face severe economic hardship over the next few years as we deal with the aftermath of this war. We also need to focus on reforming the United Nations into an actual world government capable of passing laws and waging war. Such a government will also make it easier for us to deal with global economic issues. And this concludes my State of the Union address for this occasion. Now, I understand that the Republicans may want to release an official response to this address. I will instruct my staff to watch for it. If it does come out, I want to make sure they do not tell any lies about me, about other Democrats, or about Democratic policies. Let me warn them that if any acts of slander or libel are found, the one giving the response will face a lawsuit. Truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth is to be expected, period.
This is not what we in Congress expected from the President. She was supposed to come here to speak before a joint session of Congress like her predecessors did.
Debbie actually followed what the Constitution says the President must do, nothing more or less. Senator Donald, I mean, you and all the others in Congress have the printed copies of the address, right? Seriously, have you never read the Constitution? Debbie and I don't care in the slightest about traditions that have nothing to do with the actual law.
The USS Sandy approaches Earth, but the people on board are having an argument.
Mother, we don't want to go to the White House. That's right. Send us back to Dallas where we lived before. We can live with our cousin Sandy there because of her grandfathers Charles and Michael. We can then reunite with our old friends we had in school too. I agree with them. I love my grandmothers, but I know how busy Grandmother Debbie must be as president. And why must we interfere with that? And I was in Dallas too, so that city will be familiar to me. All right, let me consult with your parents about this. The children all agree they want to return to Dallas. We just have to convince your grandfathers to take them all in.
All right, I will talk to them about it. Grandfather Charles, I know you and Michael want to enjoy retirement, but my daughter and her twin cousins want to return to Dallas, and since you still live there, I'd like to know if you would take them in.
I don't see why not. When Debbie and Carrie left, along with you, Diana, and Sandy, this mansion suddenly felt useless. Michael even suggested we sell it and move into a tiny apartment. But I think he would love to hear the pitter-patter of little feet again. He has told me several times about how raising you and Annika gave him so much joy. Why not repeat the experience?
So be it. I will change course. Diana, take the kids to the engineering and teleporter room and have them teleported to the front yard of my grandfather's home.
Will do. You and the twins had better be on your best behavior while you are all there. Your grandfathers are being quite generous, so you owe them. Of course, Mother. Activating the teleporter.
Welcome back to Dallas, you three. Come inside, I have already made dinner. We are having ham sandwiches and corn.
I'm sure the twins will love your cooking, it was always the best. Carrie, I just took a look at the personal file of Lieutenant Martha Williams, who was the only one killed at Mars Colony when it was invaded by the Chinese. According to the records, she was raised by a single mother and was an only child. The mother is still alive and living in Chicago. Maybe the rest of the world hasn't taken notice of the loss, because Lieutenant Williams was just one person, not one of millions that died like all those Chinese people who were killed by the Sabari. But I think she still deserves to be honored for her service and sacrifice.
I understand. So let us prepare something special for the mother. Hello. Is this the home of Dolly Williams, mother of Lieutenant Martha Williams? Yes, and I am she. I am Carrie Sims, First Lady of the United States. I know who you are, Mrs. Sims. What do you want? Your daughter died in the line of duty, just like any other member of the armed forces in a battle. That she was the only American who died in battle this year doesn't make her loss any less. Indeed, and that was why I was so glad the Chinese got their asses kicked as punishment for what they did to us. Right. But revenge alone is not healing. Which is why I was asked to give you this. A check for $50 million. And a posthumous award of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Exactly. The money is from my wife's personal account. You may do as you please with that money. And your daughter is the first person to be so honored during my wife's administration. Thank you, First Lady Sims. I was so devastated when Martha was buried on Mars and I never had a chance to say goodbye to her, but this makes up for that. I will use that money to pay for one of my nephews, who is about to start college. Maybe he and his little sister can attend a major university instead of a small public college, and thus give them the best start in their careers later. I wish you all luck.